Virginia that he has taken over. And this is turning out to be an important thing. One of the ongoing FBI and Justice Department investigations that was already underway before Robert Mueller was appointed special counsel is the case involving Trump National Security Advisor Mike Flynn and his foreign ties. That ongoing investigation has been reported and described by multiple news outlets. It was confirmed as an ongoing FBI criminal investigation last week in sworn congressional testimony by James Comey. So now we know for sure that it's happening. We know that the Mike Flynn investigation has produced already multiple subpoenas to businesses associated, to people and businesses associated with Michael Flynn. We know that a federal grand jury has been convened in conjunction with that Mike Flynn case. That's how the subpoenas are being issued. We know that that Mike Flynn case is being run out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia. And we know that it's being led by a veteran espionage prosecutor, Brendan Van Grack. But the venue of that Mike Flynn investigation, that ends up being sort of newly important, or at least newly interesting in light of tonight's news about the vice president. Because there are federal prosecutor offices all over this country, in every state, right? There are dozens of U.S. attorneys from sea to shining sea running federal prosecutor offices and handling all sorts of important federal investigations and prosecutions, right? Everything from public corruption to big drug cases to terrorism to organized crime, you name it. So being a U.S. attorney anywhere in the country is a big deal. It means you're the top federal law enforcement lawyer, law enforcement prosecutor in whatever your jurisdiction is. And every inch of the country is covered by some U.S. attorney's jurisdiction. They're all important. I don't mean to cast aspersions on any other U.S. attorney's offices. But when it comes to big national security cases, particularly big, complex national security cases, particularly big, complex national security cases that might have big, complex financial aspects to them, there are a couple of U.S. attorney jurisdictions, there are a couple of districts that I think are sort of considered first among equals when it comes to those kinds of crimes. One of them is the Southern District of New York, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan. Preet Bharara is very well known as the controversially fired, very high-profile U.S. attorney from Manhattan, from the Southern District of New York. That district is very high-profile in terms of its national security cases. The other district in the country that is super high-profile for its big, complex national security cases, cases that often have a nationwide and even international reach, the other district like that, besides Southern District of New York, is Eastern District of Virginia. Right now, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia is Dana Bente. And it's interesting, right now, Dana Bente is running, at the same time, he's running that U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia, and he's also running the National Security Division at the Justice Department in Washington, D.C., which incidentally makes him the number 4 person in the line of succession at the Department of Justice. Dana Bente got a surprise mention last week in James Comey's congressional testimony when Comey said that he consulted with Dana Bente after President Trump told Comey that he should make public statements exonerating Trump in relation to the FBI's counterintelligence investigation on Russia. Comey says after Donald Trump asked him to make those statements, he went to Dana Bente at the Justice Department and asked him what to do about that presidential request. He says Dana Bente told him, no, do not make those public statements that the president has told you to make. So Dana Bente is running the National Security Division at the Department of Justice. Simultaneously, he is also still running the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia. And that U.S. Attorney's Office is where the Michael Flynn case is already underway. That Eastern District of Virginia office is where a federal grand jury is already convened, that is already reviewing evidence, already issuing subpoenas, and working on that Flynn case already. That Eastern District of Virginia U.S. Attorney's Office is where they've got that veteran espionage prosecutor heading up that investigation into Mike Flynn and his foreign ties. Now, as special counsel, Robert Mueller has the option to convene his own new federal grand jury, if he wants to consider evidence and potentially down the road possible indictments. in either the Trump-Russia investigation or the obstruction of justice investigation or both. He could convene his own grand jury. He also has the option to just use whatever grand jury has already been convened to work on the Paul Manafort Ukraine kleptocracy case. Or he can continue to use the grand jury that is already convened and working in the Eastern District of Virginia. One that's working on the Flynn case. That Eastern District of Virginia venue is proving to be really central to what's going on. When Bob Mueller was first appointed special counsel, the first person that we learned that he hired to work with him, the first person who was named as coming with Bob Mueller to that job, is a guy named Aaron Zebley. Aaron Zebley is a former senior prosecutor from the Eastern District of Virginia. That venue just keeps coming up over and over and over again in this case. And because of that background, because of what we know about the venues involved here, because of what we know about the grand juries and the investigators and the prosecutors who are already on board and working these cases, because of that, it sort of seems like a wise move by Vice President Mike Pence today that he has not only hired a private lawyer, private counsel, to look out for his individual interests in these investigations. That seems wise for sure. But it seems particularly wise that out of all the lawyers in the world who Mike Pence might have picked, he chose a guy who happens to be the former U.S. attorney from the Eastern District of Virginia. That makes total sense. That seems like an incredibly rational choice given what we know about the progress of this investigation, where it's taking place, who the personnel are that are involved in it. But it's interesting. Beyond Mike, so Mike Pence has picked this guy as his new attorney. Beyond his history, his experience in running that U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia, here's a really interesting other thing to know about the man who Mike Pence just chose as his personal lawyer. This is not some whippersnapper. This is not some up-and-coming whiz kid at the start of his career. The guy who Mike Pence just chose to be his private lawyer for these investigations has been around for a long while. And one of the things he is known for in his career is the very interesting role he has had in other big Republican presidential scandals.
And in our Washington studios right now, former Air Force General Richard Secord, who was a principal figure, of course, in the Comfort Supply operation. General Secord, those are strong accusations against you. It is very hard for the public, I would guess, to accept the fact that in the interest of keeping Project Democracy alive, a lot of people were making a lot of money, according to Senator Paul Tribble, you among them.
Well, Senator Tribble has, since the early days of my testimony, tried repeatedly over and over again to color me and some of my associates as profiteers, and I refuse.